Forgive me if I look a little worse for wear today. I had a rough morning, very emotional morning. Things piled up, and I'm still here with just me and my 14-year-old. I really don't have any means of effective support. I have an aunt who tries, but I think my family does a lot of enabling between each other. I don't know. I haven't been a part of my family's life for the past probably 20 years, maybe more. I want to make it clear that in all my videos, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to insult, defame, attack the character or integrity of, or to abuse my parents or anyone else in my family. But I do believe that there are a lot of things. There's a lot that people can learn from my situation, because throughout my journey in life, I've pretty much been made out, and I don't want to sound like I'm having a pity party or a sob story or woe is me, I'm the victim, because that's not what I'm saying. But throughout my life, I've had a diagnosis that never had to be as exacerbated as it is. I'm not going to disclose what my diagnosis is. You can go based on what I've said, what I haven't. It doesn't matter. Because even setting that aside, even if you set aside my diagnosis, I still have survived over 20 years of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. So any primary diagnosis set aside, there's no doubt in my mind that I suffer from CPTSD. No doubt in my mind, which is often confused with borderline personality, apparently. And a lot of our behaviors that people see as borderline personality traits, like frantic attempts to avoid abandonment, I can see where people would think that that's what I have been doing over the past 14 years. But because they weren't in my situation and no one sat down to understand exactly how much abuse I was reporting, how much abuse I was reporting that was being ignored, how many of mine and my child's rights were really being violated, how much in fear I truly was for myself and my child. Unless someone truly knew the circumstances, there was no surefire way that they could tell the difference. And I see that. But that's not my fault, because I wasn't screaming loud enough. So all the meltdowns I had, all the upset, the psychotic episodes, the frantic phone calls, they were all an effort to save mine and my child's life, an effort for me and my child to feel safe so we could just function and go about our daily lives. I mean, when you don't feel safe any of the time and you still sit there, but you have to, what people don't realize is when you're there all alone and you never feel safe, but you don't want people to know that, because it makes you even more vulnerable than you already are. So you're sitting there with a smile on your face, not letting anyone know how scared and alone you truly are, trying to be a big badass, because you're already being broken down, and if anymore, and it's over. I don't want pity. I don't want woe is me, I'm a victim. I want to be seen as a survivor and someone who's still trying to push forward and to heal from all of this. And I'm upset that my mother said what she said to me. She said two things that ripped my heart out of my chest, and I had to sit there the whole night. And until this morning, it ate me alive every morning. Like every time I thought about it. Do I really not have the right? My perception is she feels like I wasn't there to raise my son. I wasn't there for my son. They were the ones that were there, so I have no right to say anything about his suicide. I still lost my son. I still lost my son to suicide. My son. My son. He called her mom because they raised him to call her mom. She was his grandmother. His father made efforts to call him all the time. I'm not going to sit here and let my mother do this to us anymore because she is, and as much as I disagree with what my son's father ever did, I know for a fact he and I both made efforts. My mom still never returns my calls. My stepfather answers the phone for me more than she does. She claims I'm verbally abusive because I express myself and because I correct her when I'm wrong and because I had the audacity to bring fact-based research forward that pretty much infers or insinuates that some of their parenting choices have led up to my mental illness. And that is what is hard for her to swallow. That does not make it okay to turn around and minimize anything I've gone through, because just as much as my family has suffered the loss of my son, I'm his mother, and I lost my son just as much as she lost her grandson. And she told me I never said thank you for anything they did for my kids. I told her on more than one occasion, the few times they did answer the phone, and she and I would speak before I hung up, I'd tell her, thank you guys for everything you're doing for the kids. And my mom sat there and told me, no need to thank us. We're only doing what we were told to do. Did I hallucinate that too? I've not been hallucinating this whole time. I've not been hallucinating this whole time. And I'm not going to let anybody question my sanity anymore. I'm not going to let anybody make me question my own sanity, because those are all narcissistic traits. Narcissistic traits that turn people on themselves, make them doubt their own judgment, turn them into socially anxious women with fear of a lot more than you realize, like me. And my aunt tells me, well, if you just get up and try, I know you can do it. Okay, you know what, you guys? I have been so underprotected, and I know I can get out and do it as well. I know I can get up and do the things everyone expects me to do. But just because I've demonstrated before that I can do it does not mean that at this point in time I am able to do it without causing myself any severe anxiety, without worsening my fears and discomfort. Everybody gets anxiety. Everybody gets uncomfortable. You cannot minimize what I've been through that's pushed me to the point where I can't even tolerate 15 to 30 minutes in public. And how frustrating it is for me to not be able to do anything that I used to do. So my mom's going to be angry because I've said the things I've said, but she had no right to say anything she said to me. I've suffered and I have experienced the loss of my son. My son's suicide is definitely something I experienced, and I'm not going to let anybody minimize that. So I'm sorry if I'm coming on here and I'm making my family feel like this or like that, but I'm not in any way, shape, or form being abusive. This is my perception. These are my feelings. They are valid. And I'm starting to see that throughout my life, I've not been allowed to feel or express, to feel, yes, but to express any of my feelings or perceptions of things because they've been immediately turned around on me as, you don't have the right to say that. You don't have the right to feel that, is what she's been telling me. Not those words exactly, but in my perception, which is important because I don't control the way I perceive everything. I sit here and walk throughout my daily life sometimes and I'm like, what? To silly shit. Like, what the heck did I just hear or what? And I have no control over what my brain processes some things as. And so I sit there puzzled, trying to figure out what the hell I just heard or what the hell I just saw. And my mom refuses to accept this. The only reason I understand it now is because I've educated myself. I sat down and did all the research on myself that no one else was willing to do when they were all just sitting there prescribing this medication and that medication based on my abuser's description of my behavior. I really don't know anybody out here anymore. I don't have any friends, and I'm scared to go make friends because people take advantage of me. Maybe it's the worst thing in the world to come on here and say, I'm so easy to take advantage of. I'm so vulnerable. I'm so naive and so gullible. But I do what I have to do to protect myself, and that's stay inside and away from people. Because I don't have a supportive family that's going to sit there and say, hey, those people are not safe for you. Hey, I don't have anyone's judgment that I can trust but my own. And my own judgment tells me I can only sit at home and be safe because everyone else is going to take advantage of my vulnerabilities like they have been for 25 plus years. I don't want to get too emotional and I don't want to be hurtful to anyone. But I really don't know what else to do at this point. My daughter goes to school tomorrow and I'm fucking terrified. I'm terrified. Because they've never had any reason to take any of my kids from me all this time. They've never had a reason or a right, but they did it anyway. And I'm terrified I'm going to sit here tomorrow and someone's going to call me and say, oh, Amber, someone's here. Because of a lying ass piece of shit, the only person I allow myself to verbally abuse, and it's not okay even then, but they have no idea how much they've destroyed. And they're doing their best to make sure that I can't speak up about it. They're doing their best to make sure I don't have any way to hold them accountable or responsible. And I'm not talking about my parents. I'm talking about California and Jeffrey Martin Miller now. And CPS. CPS in California and CPS here. I said I was going to come on with a video today, and this is all I could really. I'm exhausted. I came home after a walk with my daughter to the store, and I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally drained right now. So thank you for watching, whoever that is. Smith, I don't know. I'm here to watch my beautiful blue eyes that are green.
What brown?
They're not brown. Sorry, bad joke. Very poor timing. My eyes have never been brown. You know what that is. Anyways, so I'm going to go cry some more. I'm still upset. Not only am I grieving my son, and I'm still grieving my daughter after 17, 18 years. But I honestly am grieving my mother now because I've had to come to the realization that she's very toxic to me. And I don't mean that as an insult. I don't mean it to hurt her, but I have to accept that. And it's just as hurtful for me to accept that I'm not going to be able to have a relationship with my mother that I want because it's toxic. For whatever reason, for whoever's fault it is, it's too toxic. I gotta go. Thank you for watching.